mark what?
Wickets.
If he ends up, let's say, even if he doesn't go for many, nothing for 45 off his 10, I think Nepal might just have a chance of winning this. I'll tell you that much. Because there is that same issue, despite Mackenzie Jones coming into the team. They just don't have that penetration, do they, in their attack, Scotland?
It has been an issue. Missing a number of their first choice bowlers and the variety in their bowling attack as well.
Goi chaukai no.
Cross, making sure of it. No, it didn't mean there was no one back at the stumps at all.
The amount of sleep I've had over the last few days, Mel, I'm pretty chuffed that I stopped that. Thanks to Sakar Sadan, who's a great young man, watches every ball of Nepali International Cricket. Says great fielding cricket badge.
Well,
thanks, old boy.
Well, I mean, you talk about being at Lord's. I do remember watching you take a catch at Lord's.
Yeah, that was
in the
something
stands.
Else. Yeah, that was a surreal day. I think the production crew in the back are still laughing at my fielding there. Yeah, stuff of dreams that day.
Oh, I saw the catch first. It wasn't until I saw the replay. I was in the press box. I was like, that's Lenny's. What?
Good play of it, you know.
Oh, I know.
I never dropped catches. That was something I didn't do. Actually, I only remember really... Well, sorry, of course we've all dropped a couple. Anyone who's played cricket has dropped a couple. But I generated a pretty safe pair of hands. One of the few ones I did drop, though, I used to wear half spikes. So I used to wear, it was actually a pair of runners with just spikes at the front of them. I didn't like having the full spikes. Didn't need them as a spin bowler. So I had a pair of runners just with the front half with the spikes stuck in them. And I wore them a bit too much and there was holes in them and I slipped. I was in a deep mid-wicket once. I slipped, lost my footing coming in on one of those classically wet days. And it burst through my hands because of the slip. And smashed into my glass.
Oh no!
I actually left an imprint you can still see just on the bridge of my nose there.
Oh yes!
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it went off to the rope as well, so didn't drop too many, but yeah, that was one of the more, look, you've humiliated days of the outfielder when you bowl. With all that excitement of the ball coming to us, now we didn't see, is it M.A. Jones on the back of the jumper, but M.W. Jones will continue. Definitely a growing confidence, isn't there, in this chase? There hasn't been a full sort of blown gear shift just yet, but just a little bit of acceleration being applied by these two.
Well, there is, and particularly while Bim Sharkey is out there, I think we'll see that continue because they've just been keeping pace. I wouldn't actually mind seeing the worm again at some point if we're able to bring that up at the end of the over, perhaps. Be interesting to have a look where it sits now.
Beats the inside edge. That's where Dipender Singh is a bit of weakness.
Dipender दाइ हान्नु पर्छ आज Dipender दाइले हान्नु पर्छ.
Very well bowled by Jones on debut. Bidut Lamachani says great commentary from your co-commentator on your fielding too.
Told ya. I was relishing that bit.
Too right. Loving some of the messages coming in. Yo Baraj Sadai watching on. He says was supposed to work this weekend. I begged my friend to cover for me. I woke at 5 a.m. I cancelled my daughter's swimming class just to watch the game. The pull shot comes out no time. He's watching from Bowling Green in Kentucky.
Wow. Oh, that's a famous historic site in Kentucky.
Sixth Dimension asking, why do we think the middle orders or the top orders collapsed, and who do we think of the middle order will anchor this innings?
ल साथीहरु कहाँदेखि कोदेखि बोल्दै हुनुहुन्छ?
Morning tea with some Nepali cricket, the stuff of dreams.
हेलो हाई हेलो गर्नु पर्यो. आज हामीले जित्नु पर्ने हो. Oh no.
Gonna get another look at this. I think it is dropped. He's absolutely clothed it, gets there and juggles it and puts down the simplest of chances. Remarkable.
Oh no.
Well, it certainly is when you consider it's Brandon McMullen who is generally an outstanding fielder, and that is the second drop for Scotland today. They dropped 5 catches in their last game.
Yeah, against the Netherlands. It
Yeah.
was remarkable, wasn't it? 5 catches. Today, the one they put down didn't cost them much. George Munsey dropped Kushal Bertel, didn't he, off the bowling of Mackenzie Jones. But here, Brandon, it was so innocuous, wasn't it? I thought at first it might have been. We just have to apologise again. So bright here, we don't really have a monitor that we can see when the ball's being bowled. I thought it might have been pumped into the surface because there wasn't much of a reaction. But Dipender Singh Irie on 7, it's the simplest of catches, and it's gone down.
And you have to feel a bit for Mackenzie Jones as well. On debut, and he's created a couple of chances. At times the ball going down. Can he create another though?
And that's going to be out. It is the pace and bounce,
Oh
and McMullen says, that's how
no.
I catch
Set.
it. They don't have Dipender Singh Irie, but they do have Bim Sharkey. Nepal unable to deal with that extra pace and bounce. Good aggressive bowling. And it's a fantastic debut. He could have 4 for, but he's got 2 next to his name.
Set.
Well, Mackenzie Jones, 6'5", 6'6", whatever it is, he gets that extra bounce. He uses it to advantage. And
Set.
next time, the previous ball went down. This time, Brandon McMullen makes the most of it. Says, there you go. But it's been a terrific innings for Sharkey. He'll be disappointed he
Bad
wasn't
luck.
able to
Nepal
stay
को
there
लागि.
until the job was done. He departs for a well-made 73. But Nepal, now, they really are looking to rebuild again.
And that record, unless one of these two does something incredible
Bad
over the
luck,
last
bad
18
luck,
hours, the record of just 8
साथीहरू.
centuries in Nepal's ODI history is going to retain through this game. Bit of naivety there, I think, from both Irie and Sharkey, trying to pull or to hook against the angle, against the pace, against the bounce, rather than looking to cut. If you get inside that and try to cut it with the wind, get it up and over, you're going to get 4 or 6 easily. But it was just all too easy.
Well, and this is why Richie Barrington has brought Mackenzie Jones on from the pavilion end as well, because he's bowling short, which means if they are trying to pull the ball, they're pulling directly into the wind and to the longest part of the ground. So there is some method to Richie Barrington's captaincy, even if my colleague doesn't always necessarily agree with it. But it's exactly why you said he should get Mackenzie Jones on to bowl, for the same reasons that has ended up being successful for Jones. What's worked out from him is we see the Brains Trust, Richie Barrington, having a word with Charlie Castle now. Time for him to come back in, so they'll save a few Mark Watt overs. It's pretty tidy in his first spell. Just went for 4 and over. But Gulshan Jar, this could be really interesting.
Yeah, it brings it in the left-hand, right-hand combination too, doesn't it? So if Nepal can play it well, they can have someone hitting to the shorter side with the wind from both ends of the ground now. Jar really only plays one way, plays very aggressively, very attackingly. He's a dynamic ball striker, isn't he? And this game isn't over yet. Scotland big favourites. Nepal are basically halfway there. They've lost half their batters, only have 18 overs left. It's a huge task, but they have the firepower still. And with shots like that, there's going to be a game on. Irie gets to double figures with the most perfect cover drive. Not just raw power he possesses, a little bit of class too.
अब केही हुन्छ कि
And you'll know Brandon McMullen did take that last catch. I just wonder how costly that drop of might be. That's a marvellous stroke.
ल सबैजनालाई कहाँ हेर्दै हुनुहुन्छ नमस्ते नमस्ते आज हामीले जित्नुपर्ने हो जितिन्नै का हो
Head actually the most important thing. The game is still left in like 120. Scotland 100 off the last 10.
ओ नो
Get back. He wants to. And will really well judge running for the second.
Just the throw coming in on the bounce. And just not quite getting over the stumps.
Yeah, I would guess, Mel, maybe a Gulshan Jar move would be one that would make.
Oh, is that nice?
Yeah, I would guess, Mel, maybe a Gulshan Jar move would be
View
one
of
that
the
would make.
fielding from here.
Great diving stop from McMullen. Keen to make amends for that dropped catch. Great diving stop from McMullen. Keen to make amends for that dropped
He's
catch.
generally so dynamic in the field.
कुलसन दाई हान्नु पर्यो दिपेन्द्रजी हान्नु पर्यो कुलसन दाई हान्नु पर्यो दिपेन्द्रजी
Fantastic
हान्नु
work
पर्यो
from Brandon McMullen.
ओ नो
Like that angle. Remember, for those who watched that Oman game where Castle took 7 for, he did really well around the wicket to the left-handers.
साथीहरु कहाँदेखि हेर्दै हुनुहुन्छ कमेन्ट गर्नु पर्यो सब्स्क्राइब गर्नु पर्यो हजुरलाई सब्स्क्राइब ब्याक दिनेछु
If I was still in this game, we could just
आज हामीले जितिन्नै क्या हो जित्नु त पर्ने हो
find it more difficult because of that 120 that was smashed off the last 10.
Yeah, oh, the worm just moved. It just grew another little tendril, extended further, but right on the money. But yeah, always look at the end of the worm where it tapers up. So very possible for them to do something similar, but pressure will mount, especially if any more wickets fall.
Oh no.
I think we might find out quite a bit in perhaps this next 5-over period, because with Irie and with Gulshan Jar out in the middle, they could have 2 or 3 really big overs, and wouldn't surprise me if they try and target Mackenzie Jones. He's on debut. Ideally, that's who you'd be going after. Go after the young kid. He's only 20 years of age. But I think Richie Berrington has thought pretty much about where he's bringing him in from. The thing is now that he's bowling from the pavilion end, the leg side is the good side for the batter.
ल साथीहरु एकअर्कालाई सहयोग गरौँ सब्स्क्राइब गरौँ हामीले जित्नु पर्ने हो
The tactic that worked in getting the last wicket when he had the right-hander on the crease, he was bowling short. They were trying to pull him, and that ended up getting a chance and then a wicket. If he's got to change it up now that he's got Gulshan Shah on strike as the left-hander.
Hasn't looked out of place at all, has he? Picked up 2 wickets, could have been 3 or 4. He's caused plenty of problems.
Oh no.
Even with the direct hit, Jam
Two
might have got
run,
home.
no.
He went the
One
overthrow,
run.
but it's not a long way out there.
But this is just really good because he's basically he's got to have 2 different plans for the left and right-handers, bearing in mind sort of where that short boundary is. So he's bowled fuller on that occasion, and he probably has to keep it fuller and outside the off stump for Gulshan Jar when he's there. Now, do we see him go short again? No, he goes full. Bowls it well, right at the toes. It's a well-aimed Yorker.
No bro,
This is a really good test for Mackenzie Jones very early in his career. The fact that he's taken 2 wickets and created 2 more chances as well, that will really please Doug Watson, Richie Berrington.
ये जोन्स ले हमारा 2 विकेट ले लिया
Without some of their noted wicket takers.
अझै पनि आश छ हामीलाई
It's a well-aimed Yorker. This is a really good test for Mackenzie Jones very early in his career. The fact that he's taken 2 wickets and created 2 more chances as well, that will really please Doug Watson, Richie Berrington. With some of their noted wicket takers.
अझै पनि आश छ हामीलाई
trying to rouse Nepal, but it's not quite happening at the moment. But really well, Mackenzie Jones. Lots to be pleased with for Scotland. And great to see that another piece of young Scottish talent is going to shine here. Love to see Ollie Davidson get his go as well. I've been hearing nothing but good things about him from the Scottish club scene. There probably isn't the space for another spin bowling option in these conditions, is there, with Mark Watts and Michael Leask being about. He's capable with the bat though too. This one's cut away. Good diving stop from Leask. End of the 34th, 173 for 5 now.
That's an excellent over from Mackenzie Jones as well. Just 3 singles coming from it. He's got the left and right hand combination at the moment. Times there have been some overs where he's been a little bit loose, but then he's come back and bowled
केटाहरु
over
हान्नु
like
पर्यो,
that.
केटाहरु
He's taken
खेले.
2 wickets, more than any other bowler. As you can see, Brandon McMullen and Michael Leask with 1 apiece. How much of an issue is that for Scotland at the moment? Do you think, Lenny, just the lack of penetration in the bowling attack?
Well, they're finding a way to cover a new bit of talent, aren't they? Charlie Castle's been pretty effective today, but no real threat. Safi and Sharif, just the 2 overs for him. They weren't his 2 best, but surprised he hasn't been used again yet. Because Barrington's got that 6th bowler in, he's loads of options today. He doesn't have to necessarily turn back to Safi any time soon, or he won't have to bowl Charlie Castle the full allocation of 10 overs. Hasn't been any rhythm or timing for the last few overs.
चौका
for
चौका
these 2
न
bowlers.
चौका गएन
Both very
केटाहरु
dynamic
हान
ball
न
strikers that
चौका.
can really get after things. I think Scotland have protected that shorter side a lot better than Nepal did in the first innings.
Yeah, they've done that really well. I just thought very carefully about which bowler is at which end, and also just where they've had their fielders and the bowlers bowling to those fields as well. But you do tend to think that they get their wickets by squeezing and trying to keep it tight and then hope the pressure builds enough.
So many messages coming in, Mel. I can't keep up with them. We'll try and read a few out though. Casey Honey says, today is Dipendra Singh Irie's day, mark my word. And of course,
दिपेन्द्र सिंह गिरी छ हान्नु पर्ने हो यसले त.
Brandon McMullen of the Cedar Pashim Royals, who had a very good season for the Nepal Premier League finalists, dropping his captain and his teammate from the Cedar Pashim Royals of the NPL. So one of those funny things you get with these franchise leagues, and a lot of these players don't just play against each other, actually then they'll play with each other. Suzanne Casey saying the exact same thing. There's going to be Dipendra Singh Irie's day. Narayan Himal Rijal is watching from Colorado in the United States.
Oh no.
Whether or not Nepal can pull this game off. That's some funny ones as well. You can't say anything on air now without somebody remembering it. And I do vaguely remember this now. Sabin Bat is watching on. He says, Takludai.
Kludai.
Gulshan Jha that you promised to sponsor a bat sticker for by his next tournament if he still went unsponsored after his heroics in the Nepal Premier League. I may have said that on air.
Wow.
Oh no.
He does deserve a bat sponsor.
He does.
Could you think of a better brand ambassador than Gulshan Jha?
That's a pretty good one.
Bowls 140 clicks, hits a massive ball, fields pretty well, is a very well spoken and charismatic young man.
And I think that Lenny Limited should be his sponsor.
God, I might have to get the checkbook out, could be in trouble here. Thanks for reminding me of that, Sabine. Really appreciate that.
I've got some messages suddenly flooding in, but I love this from Swan Puppers, who's watching from Montefiore, just down the road. His wife and brother.
Where's Montefiore?
It's literally down the. It's the next village along, pretty much, from Bronte Ferry.
Come up. What are you doing?
Well,
Watching
no.
it? Watching it
So
on?
his wife and her brother are in attendance, but someone had to look after the dogs. So he's there, and he's passing the information on to his wife because he's here because she can't see the board.
Okay, there we are. Love that. It's a family fair in Scottish cricket. 35 overs ball. Time for the second drinks break. Nepal, well, really, they have it all to do. They're still in this game, but Charlie Castle's keeping things tight, as are most of the Scottish bowlers. Something's going to need to change in the final 15. It's 175 for 5.
ड्रिङ्क्स सकिसकेको छ। अब सुरु भयो गेम। अब 90 बलमा 149 रन चाहियो। केटाहरूले के गर्छन्? Oh no!
Welcome back. Final session. Gulshan Jah has just smoked one all the way for 6. What a welcome back.
Six.
Back into the
Chaka.
attack. There's life in this game yet, Mel
Oh
Farrell.
no.
Always life in the game when Nepal are playing
Yeah.
cardiac kids.
6.
Well, they're not given that nickname for no
Yeah.
reason. Don't
Sana
go
unna baby chupla.
anywhere, no matter where you
No,
are
arrange
watching
basal.
in the world.
The game, it starts now, says Binod Pandey, who's travelled a long way to cover these
Yeah,
matches.
छक्का हाने हाम्रा
Ja,
दाइले
the way
झ्याम
he plays,
कि झ्याम
well, can't
यस्तै
rule out
हान्नुपर्छ अब
something
हामीले
very strange happening as it's getting a little bit gloomy here and very chilly altogether.
नाइ
Might have to use my
यही
fifth
छ
layer, my emergency layer.
लाइभमा छ फेरि नगराउन यार
Had ready.
You have one job man के जब चाहियो ब्रो के जब चाहियो
Yeah, the benefit for Nepal in their situation, they probably have their three highest potentially striking batters either at the crease or to come. These two can score very quickly, and I just wonder, will Karen KC float up the order, up to number 8?
Yeah, there's a good argument for that, Lenny.
ल ल ओ
Chance got big, but he hasn't got enough of it. This is a pressure catch for the debutant, and he does enough.
मुला जान्नी भएर हान्न परेको
Catching it in his belly. Michael Leask, what a day he's having, a roar of delight from him. I think that
Wrong
might have
खेल्यो
winded
यार
Mackenzie Jones. He's barely caught it in his hands. He's caught it as much as anything in his gut, and he's been knocked down by the catch that he's taken. Richie Berrington and Michael Leask are going to go down to him. I think he might have a bit of a bruise
Wrong
from that.
side
It wasn't the most
खेल्यो
elegant of catches, but it was effective enough to see the back of Gulshan Jah, who is caught in the deep for 11.
So sad.
For 6.
Well, he had an awfully long time to think about that. The ball hung up in the
खेल्नी
breeze
हैन
for an absolute age, and it was almost like he wanted to take it with his entire body, not let that ball drop. Look, here he is. He's got so long. Please let it stick. And it did in the end, right in the bread basket. But he's had a wonderful first showing, cap number 700 for Scotland. What a day. And that does make things very interesting now because, well, for me, Gulshan Jah was the one who
गुलसन दाइ नि गए हाम्रा अब चाहिँ कसले जिताउँछ खै सम्पाल दाइले जिताउँछन् कि
into striking distance, but they still have some big hitters out there, Lenny.
15 overs, it might feel like when you need 10 and over, you need to go at everything, but it's actually a lot of time to still kind of find a way, and having got 8 from 3 balls in the over already, maybe didn't need to look for another big one. It's not going to be Karen KC. Sampal Kami comes to the crease at number 8. Maybe just a good call to hold KC back a little further. Kami can maybe just bat for 5 or 6 overs. He'll get off the mark immediately with one hit down the ground. Yeah, by no means the most convincing catch, but Mackenzie Jones will say, look in the book, it's done, I took it. Not with a great technique, to be frank, but he did enough. As Bender Singh Irene now has a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Did miss something, Mel, sorry, in amongst everything. When he got to 6, he has become the latest batter to 1,000 ODI runs for Nepal, so many congratulations. He's the 5th batter in history to do that for Nepal, and the 4th batter for Nepal to have 1,000 runs in both ODIs and T20Is. He would absolutely love to make that landmark today in a winning cause, but to do so, well, he probably is going to need to get 70 or 80 plus, isn't he? KC to come, but still 140 needed. It's a long way away. 14 overs to get there. It's exactly 10 and over required, and Nepal are left with it all to do. Scotland, they've been really good performance barring those couple of drop catches that they put
बलरले राम्रोसँग गर्न सकेन पावर प्लेमा राम्रो थियो गेम पछि हाम्रो गेम हातबाट फुस्कियो
good length from Castle. He's done that nicely today.
He has done it nicely. He's just kept things under control without necessarily having been able to come in and take the wickets. So a few more shout outs as well, because everyone's now watching as this game gets to what could be an exciting finish. Badesh is walking around with a speaker so that he doesn't miss a single ball. Angel watching on from Newcastle in Australia.
Powered into the air.
Oi.
Mid on, Barrington up in the circle.
Oi,
so
oi,
looks
oi,
like
oi.
Cammy's
Choka,
taking
choka.
that on, taking the aggressive route.
Going.
We'll get 2, but won't get 3.
And I've got to say hello to Prasida as well from Milan, who has exams tomorrow, and he's got 2 friends, Basme and Saswat, watching in the ground, and he'd love to be here as well. It's amazing, just everywhere around the world, people watching from. Niraz is waiting for a flight in Vietnam.
Big swing and a miss. Yeah, great thing about ICC TV, available live and free all the way around the world. Great to have your company with us. Over 10 runs required per over. The task is getting very, very tall here now for Nepal. And I think with that dismissal of Jah, Scotland will just feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident. It is getting gloomy. There's no chance of rain, I don't think at all, but it's just getting a bit cold, a bit chilly, and Nepal are going to need something to warm them up here. You surprised with Cammy coming in ahead of KC, or is it too soon for KC?
Still, it's a bit like the Michael Leask argument or conundrum, isn't it? And when you're wanting to come on, as it turns out, Michael Leask came on at a terrific time in the previous innings. But they've still got to look a couple of really good overs, and you feel they're right back in it, but they do need a couple of really good overs soon.
Well, that's picked up, and that's going to go all the way. He's got a very good technique to Sampal Kami. He's got the accomplished skills of somebody who could bat in the top order. And Castle probably not at that pace to bowl that length, and because it's at that end, it's a 59-metre boundary in theory, but in reality with the wind and the angle and the hill, it's about feels like a 50-metre one. Too easy. Nice hit from Kami, all the way for 6.
And they might have to get a new
Some
ball on
padali
this.
hane
Oh no,
ball
Watt
bettiyo.
has managed to find it. Gee, they've had some work to do. If you're watching from over in one of those houses, you might find a few balls floating around in your backyard a day after a game like this. Talk about those big overs, right? Well, if it got 8 off this over, not enough. Another boundary would help.
That will
Oh
help.
no.
Pump down the ground.
Chauka.
This game is by no
Sampalale
means over.
chauka dinu
Remember,
bhayo.
Nepal of the wild card, the X factor, the brilliance of
Yeah.
Karen KC to come. The 2 at the crease aren't too bad either. Sampal Kami and Dipendra Singh Iree. Are we bubbling up for another classic here? 196 for 6.
Oh, Blenny, I feel we could be. That just becomes a very good over. 12 runs coming from it. So staying ahead of the run rate has those couple
Oh
of
my.
overs where they get up to 16, 18 runs. If they can have a couple of those, all of a sudden it comes into focus. Now Leask. Can he be the man of the moment once more? Pumped for 6, first ball of his last over by Gulshan Jah. Got the wicket with the second ball. Really out of it for long.
Oi.
Just under 10 and over required. It's not out of the question, is it? And these 3 overs feel kind of important as well. They can't afford a couple of tight overs. Got to keep the scoreboard moving. But it's so tricky, isn't it? Because Iree's going to want the second here. He's very quick, but sends Cammy back. You're kind of trying to score and accumulate runs at a swift rate whilst not being able to afford to lose any wickets. It's that horrible jeopardy.
That run rate required has just fallen under 10 again. So that's the way they want to keep it heading south. And you can see now the rotation of strike, left hand, right hand. Can they keep? Oh, it's no longer left hand, right hand.
You had a great day up to
Oh,
the 30th.
look, I've up until that moment. Sorry, I had a flashback to Gulshan Jar still
That's
being there,
okay.
and I realised it straight away. I would like to point out, but the point is rotating the strike and keeping it ticking over. But for Scotland, if Lees can just keep it tight, at the end of this over, it makes up for that 12-run over last time.
Goes in the air, round the corner, so nearly to Richie Barrington. It's that angle he loves bowling. Like, Lees quite likes bowling to right-handers. You think off-spinners don't, but he uses that round the wicket angle so cleverly. The tall enough man gets that bit of bounce, and well, Cammy just got in a horrible tangle. That could have gone anywhere.
It really could. Now, if he can keep it tight here, this last ball of the over, expect they might go for it.
Helped around the corner, over the head of Richie Barrington. Not really in full control, Irie. The Nepal fans are roaring it on to the rope, but they will get a comfortable third. The 200 has come up in that over. 38 bowled, 203 for 6. See here, I'm going to show a couple of graphics here. Not actually ahead of where they need to be from a run scoring perspective, but look at the Manhattan trend, the over by over. You see here, look at that flying, flourishing finish from Scotland in the darker blue. That's why Nepal still have it all to do.
Part of that for Lees in that last over. And it's been what returning now. We wondered if we would see him again. Interesting, bringing Mark Watt back now and not saving him for the end. He might maybe really save one over at the end.
Just maybe trying to kill the game now. But the tight overs doesn't kill it, but a wicket certainly does. Again, the problem for Nepal, they can't just play out these 3 overs. They have to accumulate runs off them. It's a real challenge. Will Irie look for the big power hit into the leg side? Or is he just going to be happy to nudge it around? For the moment, he'll nudge it around. He's so quick. He's going to get 2. That's a 58-metre boundary. And he just dropped in run 2. He hasn't even got it to the 30-yard circle. Incredible stuff.
That really is. You would say that at least 90% of batting partners, I reckon, in international cricket, that would only be one. I honestly do. They are so quick. I'm not even sure if you can appreciate it watching on from home, but really impressive.
Won't be able to get 2 this time. Straight to Saturday 2. Surprised he's only bowled 2 overs, but really well most of the series thus far.
Yeah, he was a bit expensive in the first couple of overs. I don't know how it was particularly so, but again, he was often called on at the death. And so we might see his experience come in. He had to do a bit of mopping up almost after